Hello, everyone. This is Alex from Materia.
I'm Andy.
And today, on episode 2 of Materia Live, we're going to talk about games in our collections that we would just never get rid of. I think I can speak for both of us here when I say we both don't value quantity over quality. That being said, Andy's a little more quality over quantity than I am. But neither of us are necessarily trying to get like full sets of anything. So yeah, I guess with that being said, I'll pass it off to you.
Yeah. I guess a little more the additional context I would add is that I've kind of gone through a lot of different phases in collecting, and at one point I lived in a tiny apartment where I was only collecting portable stuff, like portable consoles, portable games, like everything that had like a really small footprint, and then my collection ballooned, and then when I opened the video game store, that definitely changed my perspective on collecting an incredible amount. And the footprint of my collection now is the smallest it's ever been, in that I have one small Billy IKEA bookcase that has like 3 rows, and I have like my 8-bit and 16-bit stuff, and then all my disc-based stuff, and then a random shelf. And so, yeah, quality over quantity for sure. I think the other thing I kind of realized was some of these games, the hours it takes to complete them, I don't have that many hours left on this earth, and I'm not going to play them. And as weird as that sounds, I realize you can pop in a game and just enjoy it for a little bit of time. You don't have to play through the whole thing. But I don't know. These were all just things I was thinking about that really made me kind of decide what was really important to me. And I think I could start off by pointing to one game which I would never get rid of, but I got rid of the games adjacent to it, and that is the DS Dragon Quest games, the remakes. Those games are phenomenal, 4, 5, and 6. The game I will never get rid of is Dragon Quest 5. I think that is a perfect game, one of the greatest games ever made. I did have 4, I did have 6. I sold both of those. I also had 9. I sold that. But 5, I will never get rid of. I don't know. There's just I feel like, I love all the Dragon Quest games, and if I was going to revisit one, it would be 5, or or maybe the newest one on my Switch. There's always like new ones I'm going to go back to and play, or I really like Dragon Quest 8. But like Dragon Quest 5, I'm never going to get rid of that game. It's always going to be my collection. So that's definitely one that I'll kick off the conversation with.
I assume you've beat 4, 6, and 9 then also?
Yeah, I've gotten pretty far in 4. 4, I haven't completed all the way. 6, I did complete. 9, I did not complete. But, you got. I think, if I can sink like 20 hours into a game and feel like I've accomplished something, I'm okay with that. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Depending on the game, there are
sure.
There are some games I feel like you should complete, like Chrono Trigger or Dragon Quest 5. But
yeah, I don't know. I guess the bringing up how those are remakes and those are like kind of the versions you settled on of those games is interesting, because when I was thinking about this question, I just began with like what my favorite games were, but to be honest, like I'd get rid of all of them if the circumstances were right. Like, I love Skyrim. I have to bring it up every episode.
Well, it helps that if your favorite game is Skyrim, I guess that does help, because I guess you would just download this. I don't even know which version.
But that's the point. Like, my Skyrim on the 360. That's the game I grew up as a kid playing, and now I have this new game called Skyrim on the Switch that I really love. But I don't have Skyrim on the 360 with me. I don't even know where that game is. So the sentimental value didn't really. I'm not that attached to the actual case. Like, I'll get the game. I want to have access to Skyrim, but I don't need any specific one case of it that like I want to have access to. And then also, shoot, what else was I gonna say? Were you gonna say something?
I am excited for the Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 remakes or whatever they're going to be that are coming out later. And I do think, as we get further and further along in these like generation cycle, console cycles and things, I think it keeps getting more and more interesting, the concept of game preservation, because yeah, I think we're probably 2 generations away from those remakes, being on a compilation of some kind, or maybe they're gonna, maybe they're only 1 generation away. And will that change my willingness to part with that particular physical object? Considering that game is tracking at like $200 right now, like I should probably sell
Yeah,
it.
I mean, like, I guess if Dragon Quest V came out for the Switch, would you sell your DS version?
Well, I guess that's another like interesting part of collecting, is like how much of it is us all like speculating the market. And it's probably now's the time to sell that game, because I don't really think the ceiling for that game is over $200. That's kind of crazy, unless the print run had been more rare, or I think the things that drive up the prices, I don't think that game is hitting all of those targets. But I don't know, what was your question?
Just if Dragon Quest V came out on the Switch, would you sell your DS version? I guess not even like factoring in how much it's worth. I mean, a little bit, but it's more just, I would sell Skyrim on the 360 for Skyrim on the Switch.
I guess it would depend on kind of how what they did to the game. Like, I do think they do things to games that I don't think make them better. Like, I don't know. This is the one popping in my head. I have not played through either of these versions, so I can't comment on it. But Shadow of the Colossus, like, that's a game I missed that I want to go back and play. And do I go back and play the PS3 version, or do I play like the remake that was on PS4? I've heard people say that the PS4 one is fine, but were those people there when the PS3 one came out, when everyone's minds were blown by that game? Like, I don't know. Like, I've spent so many hours on the internet reading about which version of that game to play, and I still don't know which one I should play. So I guess I'm just gonna play the PS3 one. But I guess it depends on what they do with those games. I do think that is a game because of Toriyama's artwork. I think, especially with him passing, that it means something extra to me. Like, I was really sad when he passed away, and I think his artwork is timeless. And if they did a box set of those 3DS games that really did all of it justice, the game and the art and the legacy and all of that, I would consider it for sure. But I don't know. It's a franchise that really means a lot to me. And I know we've talked about doing like an episode on franchises and things, so maybe we revisit that then. But I don't know. I guess anything is up for grabs. Maybe we'll keep going. Maybe as we keep talking, I'll think of like the one game that I would never ever sell. But
yeah, I mean, also I guess games that are never going to get remade, kind of like there's never going to be another Bakugan game like the one that they released in 2008, unfortunately. So I'll probably have that forever. If it did get remade, I wouldn't keep it, but I don't think it would. But like, yeah, I don't know. I genuinely don't think there's a game in my collection that I would never sell.
Well, I mean, Bakugan's interesting because I guess there's games that we all are personally nostalgic for that as a collective in the hobby we're not. So like, I would never buy or own or play a Bakugan game, and it doesn't mean anything to me, but it means a lot to you. I think for me, a similar game is actually Demon Souls. Like the first copy that I got of that, like I had heard about this game called Demon Souls, but it was a little late, and I got the greatest hits version on PS3, and I will never sell that version, even though I have the standard PS3 version, even though I have like a collector's edition version, even though I haven't got the PS5 version yet, but I probably will. But that game changed my life, which is crazy to say out loud, but that greatest hits copy means something because I spent so much time with it. And I think similarly, that game's worth like $13 or something, right? Like similar to Bakugan, I imagine, right? Like you spent a lot of time with that, so it means something to you.
Yeah.
I think the other games that interest me are games that I've bought and sold like multiple times. And when am I going to call it quits with that? Like Mega Man 2 for NES. Like I finally got a really nice copy where the label is nice, and that's a game I want to keep because I think that game is a fun cartridge to put into my NES and to just play for an hour. Even though I have 30 different ways I can play that game. I I don't know, that cartridge means a lot to me. Castlevania 3, I finally have a nice copy of that. Like those are games I've bought and sold like 2 or 3 times, but I'm probably done selling them at this point. So
Yeah, I think the only game I've really done that with is Dark Cloud, which I currently own it, and I think it'll probably stay that way unless I play it and hate it, which I don't think I would. But that also reminds me, I was like, because I am still in a point in life where I'm moving around a lot, so it benefits me to not have so many games. So I was like, could I realistically part with some of my older consoles like the NES or the Genesis and stuff like that? Because like with the NES, there's the Switch Online stuff, everything's there, and even beyond that, like there's a Dragon Quest 1 and 2 and 3 remakes. There's the Rare Replay, which is a bunch of their like big hits from the time. So like I could find other ways to play all these games, but at the same time, playing a game like RC Pro Am not on the NES controller feels so wrong. Like there's just some games, or like we a while back were trying to play Streets of Rage 2 on my Genesis collection that I have on the Switch. That doesn't feel right without a Genesis controller. Like there are just times where it's not really even sentimental value, but it's just I don't think there could be a remake of that game that does it enough justice.
Much. Yeah. I mean, I think Star Fox 64 is actually one that jumps into my mind because I have such muscle memory for the original N64 controller. I think that the Star Fox 64 3D is probably a better game than the original one, but that game holds up so well. The original holds up so well, and it's really hard playing it not on an original N64 controller.
Yeah.
I haven't tried playing GoldenEye on the Switch.
I've heard not good things about it.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's an interesting part of it too. I don't know. I guess for me, I think the ultimate, like the first, like threshold a game has to check off is, how much time did I already spend with this game? Because ironically, you would think, okay, we're never going to play that again, so you should sell it. But for me, those are the ones I want to keep. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know, because there are some interesting situations I'm in kind of along those lines. Like I played Tony Hawk Underground on PS2. I beat it. I didn't like it that much, but I don't know. Tony Hawk's kind of cool, so I still have it. But like, I don't really want to return to it.
Oh, you should definitely sell it. If you're not going to play it, and you just admitted it on video for the internet that it's like that you didn't enjoy it. Screw it. It's gone.
Yeah,
get it out of
fair.
there. Get it out of there.
But I don't know. Something about having a Tony Hawk game on PS2. I mean, I have Pro Skater 3 and I haven't played it yet.
So the other interesting thing is like, I mean, I think I'd be curious to hear more of your opinion because generationally, your nostalgia is for these games that are disc-based games.
Mm-hmm.
Those discs have an end of a shelf life. They're gonna be gone at some point. I mean, we're gonna have like digital libraries either through emulation, pirating and emulation, or publishers reissuing things for sure to some degree, but discs themselves are going to delaminate whatever they're going to do. And so I think cartridge everything has a shelf life, but I don't know, it's harder for me to get behind preserving a lot of digital stuff. Like one game that meant a lot to me, changed my life also, Knights of the Old Republic, and I held on to my OG Xbox copy forever. But I did finally sell it because I think the Switch version is a better version of that game. I'm probably going to revisit it more on my Switch. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't really anything like that made it look better on like playing the original version. There wasn't like a hardware reason why I was playing the original. Mm-hmm. So I do think we're going to see more and more of that, especially with disc-based games. But I don't know what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Let's say in the future, some perfect little emulation box comes out where I can just upload all my discs to it or something akin to that. I know there's similar stuff, but I don't quite trust it yet. I don't know.
Probably mega, but it's expensive.
Yeah. I mean, I could see myself going down that route, and then I think it would be a lot more of just the games I keep are about sentimental value, or like box art and manual. If they have a cool manual, I'll keep a game probably, stuff like that. Because that obviously manuals went away because we just don't need them anymore. But it is also like you're losing something there without having that little piece of paper nobody cares about. As much as I saying that out loud kind of sounds silly, it genuinely is a different thing. And there are times where I have gone back into the manual of an old game to find information about it because sometimes that's just easier.
All right, so tell me the generational equivalent to this. What I'm about to say. So, Super Mario World comes out.
Mm-hmm.
The manual, as was its predecessor with Super Mario 3, is just full of beautiful illustrations, like Mario jumping on things, all the different power-ups, all the different Koopalings, everything, right? Like I would take this manual to school and just every day just like open it up at lunchtime and just look at every single page. I would redraw parts of the manual like growing up. Like that manual meant something to me. Mega Man X was another one. But yeah, like later eras, you didn't have manuals. You just had a piece of paper. So
Yeah.
I don't know, like how did your generation, how did you dwell within the spirit of a game while you weren't playing it?
Yeah. Okay, well, you're not going to even know what this is, but there was like an online game, kind of like Webkins or anything, if you've heard of those.
No.
Okay, they're just like mid-2000s online games that kids played.
Okay.
Called Moshi Monsters.
Okay.
And there is a Moshling Zoo in that, which are just smaller little monsters that you catch by planting certain stuff in your garden, and then they walk around your house. So I had a field guide that I had written myself, and I would work on it in third grade every day, and my teacher yelled at me about it. That's kind of similar. But also, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think. Because I feel like it was always, you just were playing the game. And then in school, I don't remember it being about that. Like, there was a lot of Pokemon and Bakugan talk, but not the games. It was like real card games. We were touching grass and trading cards and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we had, kids play pretend and stuff, so there's stuff like that also. But as a really young child, I was not immersed in the world of video games. I didn't really start getting into video games at all until I was like probably 7, and I'm not like super into it until I was like 10. So I don't know. I kind of missed the prime like make-believe years with video games.
I mean, it's interesting. I think manuals, that could be a whole like topic on its own in some ways. Like up until the Souls game. I mean, one reason I became disenchanted with video games was through the whole my brain always blanks. Where you press the button action event. Well, no, timed action events. What do they call it?
Oh, quick time events.
Quick time events.
Yeah.
Like that turned me off to video games like so much, as did a lot of people. And then I think when the Souls games came out, there was this kind of like aha moment where we're like, oh yeah, this is like what it feels like to control something where it feels like I'm supposed to control every single aspect of it.
Yeah.
And in some ways, like I think manuals were always kind of silly because the game should teach you how to play it within, like intrinsically in the gameplay. When you like people talk about like World 1-1 in Super Mario Bros.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first like 5 seconds of that game teach you everything you need to know about how to play the game. That's good game design. And I think we got away from it in these like manuals. I mean, in some way, like for a fantasy game or an RPG game, there's like reasons it's packed full of like lore and all that, which is cool. But I don't know. I guess I don't know. It's fascinating all the different directions they went, but I kind of come to the point now where you probably don't need. I agree. You don't need a manual unless there's some other reason for there to be lore. I don't even know if anything I'm saying is.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense, but I don't know. I think anything that increases the game's like physicality in the real world is at least something to be considered. It's just different to open up a game case and the manual is there and you don't read it and then you put the game in the console than it is to just click a button and then the game's there. Like there's just, I mentioned this last time, like I feel like I probably have more of an obligation to play things if I actually have them taking up physical space in my room. I don't think I've ever beat a digital game really, like maybe A Short Hike, which is a cool.
Have you ever do you own a digital copy of a physical game
that I also have? Yes, a couple, but I don't do that often.
And which version do you play?
Physical, mostly.
So why do you own the digital copy?
Usually because I bought it first because it was on sale for like $1.
Got it. I mean, I own a lot of digital copies of games that I either owned physical at the time or got rid of, or owned physical and then sold. I mean, I think the ease of convenience of having it at your fingertips was, but it also being on sale was very. Like they definitely the marketing around the sales of digital video games is a thing. But sure. I don't know what's another game. You said you would sell every game. Nothing is off limits.
My collection right now is very much just what I'm curious about, and that almost takes, like, I'm very much still in my discovery phase of gaming. A little behind the scenes for you guys. We were talking about doing a top 5 showdown series where we just talk about our top 5 favorite games of a console or genre or something, and we've already done this series on Instagram, and Andy was kind of assuming we would just have the same lists as we did last time, or I don't know if maybe assuming is a too strong a word, but you remember the conversation. And yeah, I guess my thing is I'm finding a new top 5 game every week on some console because I'm always playing new stuff and I'm always trying new stuff. And that, like, I don't have my original copy of Bakugan on Xbox 360 with me or anything like that right now because that, like I said, that takes precedent over sentimental value pretty much. So because of that, yeah, I don't think there is any game I would get rid of. I think, once I feel like I've explored gaming to a point where I'm happy, which might never happen, or happy with it, not happy with my life in general. That was a little bit of a bigger statement than I meant it to be. But yeah, maybe at that point, then I would kind of go your route, slim down a bunch, and only have the games that are like really sentimentally important to me. But that's just not where I'm at right now, I guess.
I'm trying to think if I have played through a game to maximum happiness level, where I feel like I've explored it enough to make it happy and I never have to play it ever again.
Well, I meant more like gaming in general. Like I'm still branching out. I didn't play Kirby at all until I started collecting like a year and a half, 2 years ago. Most of my life I lived it without Kirby somehow. And then it's like Kirby's one of my favorite just concepts now. So I just, I'm very excited about trying new games, and the thought of scaling back doesn't appeal to me, not just because I'm materialistic. It's more, it's just not really my goal. I want to try new stuff, pretty much.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw out another game.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I won't. I don't know if there's anything else interesting. I mean, I talked about this. It's funny. Like, I don't want to just talk about the Souls games. I guess I don't know. Switch is maybe an interesting one. I don't know. I guess I feel like I have more loyalty to franchises and publishers for some reason.
As opposed to like consoles, or what do you mean?
Yeah. Like for a long time I was collecting all the Fire Emblem games because it's like one of a few series where I've like completed almost every single game that was released in America. I've not played Thracia 776. But I think those are games that I'd be less likely to sell. But I did sell my copy of Engage because I just didn't get pulled into it as much as Three Houses, which Three Houses is a game, like I've sold actually a lot of my Switch games. I don't know, the Switch, like a lot of Switch games I've bought and played through physically and then sold them, and then if I wanted to revisit them, I wait till they're on sale again. So there's kind of that like that loop happening. But Fire Emblem Three Houses is one I've definitely kept, and I can't really see myself selling that because I've spent so many hours playing that game and I love it, and I do go back to it even sometimes, just because I want to be in that world still. But yeah, I don't know. I guess there's so many games that I thought I really, really cared about and wanted, and then they sit on your shelf for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and you still never play it. And yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure I'll get to that point. Like, I mean, just even recently when I traded in a bunch of stuff, like, one of the parts of that is I decided I don't care about fighting games anymore. Like, I like Tekken, I like Soul Calibur, I don't need to go beyond that. I'm good. So, you know, I traded in Virtua Fighter, Dead or Alive. I haven't played those. If I get Virtua Fighter on, like, a Sega console, I'll probably keep it. Like, if I get did it come out for the 32X?
It did.
Okay, yeah, if I get that or, like, a Saturn copy of it, then I'll probably play that.
I sold my copy of Virtua Fighter for 32X.
RIP. Yeah.
To AJ. Shout out to AJ.
Shout out. Yeah. I guess that comes from my undying support of the 32X. Sega's going to release more games for it soon. I know they will. But yeah. Yeah,
I guess I started collecting a lot more Saturn and Dreamcast stuff more recently, and I guess some of those games mean something to me, but at the same time, I've been okay selling some of them. I mean, I think we're kind of missing like a third take on all this, which is, you know, the perspective of someone who is collecting like a completionist type, you know, completionist goals and whatnot. And I'd be curious to hear like what they get out of that.
Yeah. You're welcome on the show if you're watching this. No matter who you are, we don't even need to know you. Just let us know.
Well, I thought about I've talked to Rob about being on the show, but he's not a completionist to the degree that, you know, other people are. I mean, I don't know, the idea of being a completionist, like, who has the money to do that? Like, every single console has some unattainable game on it. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of part of it, though. Like,
well, you're gonna walk into like some yard sale and they're gonna have a copy of, I don't know, Cubivore or whatever.
I mean, probably not, but that's like what those people dream about, you know.
That's like a lot of yard sales, like just for that like one moment.
Well, yeah,
and you're like, oh yeah, I did it. I got Cubivore for $5, and then you put it on your shelf.
I mean, yeah, but you have a lot more time to go to yard sales when you're not playing the games, you know. Because not even as like that much of an insult, maybe a little bit. I'm digging at you, but also at that point, it's like, you know, it's almost an entirely different headspace. Like it's not about the games. It's like, you know, like here, I'm sitting here saying I'm excited about games. That's why I have a lot of games. The people that are completionists just like the thrill of finding stuff.
Right.
Much.
Yeah, I mean, I get the thrill part of it and the thrill of finding it and everything. I guess for me, it's always like, but then what? Right?
Yeah,
like it feels good for like a day or so. I mean, that's been one interesting aspect of owning a video game store is there's a lot of stuff that has come in that I was always like, oh, I've always wanted that game. And then I take it home and I put it on my shelf and it sits on my shelf and I don't play it. And then I play it maybe a little bit. I was like, yeah, why did I want that game again? And then I bring it back to the store and I sell it. And I guess maybe, you know, that's why there is a retro market, because I think a lot of people are probably doing that and then selling it. But I don't know. I guess if I had, my daughter's not interested in video games at all. Like maybe if there is like, if she was and I was going to bequeath my collection to her someday, but I don't know. It all just, I don't know. The idea of collecting in general still is one I just go back and forth about for lots of different reasons.
Yeah. I mean, I'm locked into it. I don't know. I've been this way my whole life. It's just something I do, and so I'm trying to be as productive with it as possible, I guess. Because I play games like it's my duty. I don't know. Like I log them. I do.
I mean, I love them too. there's definitely a part of my identity that's always had something to do with them. I mean, what do you? Are there new games that come out? So I think the other part of it too, though, as like someone into video games as a hobby, is you get excited for new games too. So do you get more excited for new games, or are you more into like finding retro games? Or both, and then like they converge too, because like the Dragon Quest games that I mentioned, like I'm excited that those got announced.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's all kind of different. Like, it's probably easier for me to like a modern game for tons of reasons, but finding an old game that I like is probably a more special experience. And also, I just use games from different eras for different reasons. Like, when I'm playing RC Pro-Am or something, it's more just like I need to fidget. It's less of I'm trying to get immersed in a world, and it's more just I need something to kind of focus on for a second. And I don't know, it just genuinely feels like I have a different relationship to games like that than modern games. Yeah, and I guess RC Pro-Am, that's my answer for a game I would never sell.
RC Pro-Am,
you need to play that on
$5 Game Boy game. Don't ever sell it if you get a copy of it.
Yes, it's sick.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to wrap it up? Or
Sure. I mean, do you have any closing thoughts? I don't.
No.
Cool.
No more thoughts.
All right. Well, thank you for watching. Feel free to leave suggestions for what we should talk about in the future. What are some games you would never sell? And genuinely, if you are a completionist and you're in the area, get in touch, because we are very open to having other people on the show, and it'd be cool to have other perspectives. But yeah, have a good day. Subscribe and like the video and share it with everybody that you've ever met. Thank you.
Thanks.